Hi, my name is Julie Shigetomi. I'm a real estate agent here in Utila, Honduras, and this is my video about Utila Geography 101. People are always asking me about where properties are located with respect to town and how to get to town if they live on the South Shore or on a boat accessible only property. As well, I have made a blog that answers a lot of questions about moving to the island. If this video doesn't answer all the questions or my blog doesn't, please email me and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have. So let's start the tour. So where in the world is Utila, or Utila? It is south of Canada, south of the US. Here's Mexico, and it's south of that too, located in Central America. Here's South America and Colombia, and here's Central America. These are the borders, and Honduras borders El Salvador, Nicaragua, and Guatemala. And here are the three Bay Islands. This is the capital, Tegucigalpa, and this is San Pedro Sula. International flights come into here and to Roatan, serving the three Bay Islands. And this is La Ceiba, where you can catch a ferry to Utila or Roatan. The islands were discovered by Christopher Columbus in 1502 on his fourth and last voyage to the New World. The Bay Islands are comprised of Guanaja, where most of the residents live on a key called Banaca, Roatan, which is the largest of the three, and Utila, which is so small you can block it out by that icon there. It is the smallest and most friendliest of the three Bay Islands. It is about 7 miles long and 3 miles wide and surrounded by an amazing reef. This reef system is an extension of the Mesoamerican Barrier Reef. The amazing thing about Utila is that you can snorkel right off the shoreline. See these channels through the white sand that come right off of your doorstep. It's an incredible place to just walk off, go snorkeling or scuba diving, and see all the amazing creatures of the sea. And don't forget, out in the open ocean, we can see and snorkel with dolphins, and of course, the most famous of all, the whale shark. Let's move around the island now and get acquainted with the different areas around the island. First, there is a harbor here called Rock Harbor. And it is only accessible by boat. However, you can go, instead of going all the way around the island, you can go through this canal here that comes out from a bar, restaurant, hostel called the Venue. And it has access from the beach, but it also has lagoon access where you can make your way through here via kayak or rent a boat right from the Venue, and they'll take you through. I did that way back in 1999 and I never did it again. This harbor is a very, very shallow harbor full of sand, and there's tons of stingrays there every time I go. You can pretty much only get there by a dory, which is a very shallow fishing boat used by most of the Utilians. The next harbor we come to is called Turtle Harbor. And this little lake here in the middle is called Turtle Harbor Pond. What you'll notice is that as I zoom out a little bit, this whole area of Utila is virtually uninhabited. It's full of marsh and mangroves. Myself and a couple of friends, guided by our friend Max, who's pictured here with one of his gorgeous pieces of driftwood art. Well, we took a walkabout that started way over here in Sandy Bay, where we took a kayak from here to here. Then we portaged it across Chepe's beach. Then we put the kayak back in the lake, and we ended up somewhere around here. The lagoon was amazing. We left the kayaks there and continued by foot. Our feet were wet the entire time. We trekked across the savannah, more or less along this path, And what we saw along the way was really breathtaking. All these amazing ferns and palm trees, and it was like we were in another world. Upon arrival, we realized that we wouldn't have enough time to make it back before dark, so we called our hubbies and they came around to the other side of the harbor where there's a dock, picked us up, and we came back around the island from the west end. Now let's move on to the next area called Carey's Bay. There are some great dive sites in Carey's Bay, as there are going all the way around the island. So this brings us to the west end of the island in an area called Pine Point, which is a gorgeous sandy white beachfront area, very chilled out, off-grid, and then we come to the Keys. The Utila Keys are where all the fishermen live on Pigeon Key or Jewel or Upper Key or Suck or Lower Key. You can see how densely populated they are. If you live on the South Shore, you'll probably come here to pick up your supplies and visit the restaurants and the bars. Moving on to the South Shore of Utila, we'll get into more detail about accessible areas on the second video. There's a channel here that separates the South Shore from the rest of town, making all areas further to the west and to the north side boat accessible only. This channel also provides access to the lower lagoon, which extends down the South Shore via a canal, accessing Neptuno's and Coconut Grove marinas. Moving on to the next bay is the Utila Bay, or the town of Utila, where most of the dive shops, bars, and restaurants are located. The majority of the island population is around Utila's town, expanding further north as the island grows. Yes, there are residents along the South Shore, but most of us live in this area, which is only about a mile square or 2.5 square kilometers. So let's move on to the areas around town that are accessible by road. Starting out here on the west end of town is a great little beachy vibe area called Blue Bayou. Similar to the channel for the upper lagoon, the lower lagoon channel provides safe harbor behind Blue Bayou for your boats. What makes Blue Bayou so special is that you can walk right off the shore and go snorkeling. You can see the fringing reef right here. Every time I go, I see eagle rays, parrotfish, and so much more. Leaving Blue Bayou, we cross this spit and we come to our public beach called Chepes. What is wonderful about Chepes is that the sandy shore gradually and very slowly gets deeper, so you can go really far out without it getting above your waist. It's what we do on the weekends, and it's usually pretty busy with the residents, and during the week it's really quiet. So leaving Chepes Public Beach, let's zoom through town. Here we have Sandy Bay. Then we have pretty much kind of the center. And here we have the municipality. No, it's not in the water. It's actually this building right here. And this is our big municipal dock. And from here, we kind of figure that's the center of town. Whether physically it is or not, that's what we call it. Then you head down here, and anything beyond here would have been boat accessible only, except that we have a bridge here. So zooming through here in what we call the point, you come across to Bandu Beach and head around the corner to an area called the Tradewinds. So allow me for a minute just to get back to the point. Get it? The point? This area is called the point. We call it coming up to the point and going down to Sandy Bay, which usually up and down means north and south, but that's what they say here. It's a little bit confusing. This is Utila's upper lagoon, and the one in Blue Bayou is Utila's lower lagoon. You can enter here to put your boats back behind here, which mostly all the dive centers do, because this is safe harbor. So at night the boats sleep behind here, and then they come out into the ocean in the bay, pick up their divers, and go diving. Oh look, doesn't this look like a dolphin? Well, I digress. Okay, back to the tour. This is pretty much what we call the Tradewinds area and Dolphin Run. And we have Paradise Cove, which is technically partially Tradewinds and Red Cliff. The great thing about this area is that the developer had the foresight to make some CC&Rs, which are conditions, covenants, and restrictions. These allow for residents only in the area so that if you're a homeowner or you purchase a lot in this area, you know exactly what's going to happen beside you. Now, as you leave the Tradewinds and Red Cliff area, you'll come to the next oceanfront area called Big Bite, because it's like having a big bite out of the island. From here you can turn around and get to the airport road. I'm not sure if that's the exact path, but you get the idea. This being the main airport road. And it's a one way of getting around the island in a circle. Let's move along now to other areas that are accessible by road. And you have our airport. The largest plane coming into there is a 19-seater. This is the airport strip, and this is the road that you normally use to get to the airport and then access town. The airport road goes all the way down here to the municipal dock. So let's leave town, go up towards the airport, and then head out to one of my favorite spots called the Cliff Club. You get there by continuing along the airport road. The pavement ceases around here, and then you head out on a dirt road, which is a really good dirt road year-round, hardly gets wet and muddy, and you head out here to the Cliff Club. When you take a look at these photos, you'll probably understand why I love this area so much. The force of the crashing waves upon the cliffs is so starkly different from the rest of Utila's tranquil vibe. I can sit mesmerized for hours watching the drama and the majesty of the waves. It's like watching a fire. So the black jagged shoreline is part of Utila's protected iron shore reserve. I'm not sure if there's any iron in it. I'm not sure where that name came from. Anyways, it's actually fossilized coral reef that dates back to the Pleistocene area, which spanned from about 11,700 years ago to 1.8 million years ago. You know, the Ice Age. Let's say goodbye to the Cliff Club and move over to one of the next budding areas of Utila called Pumpkin Hill. You can access Pumpkin Hill off of the airport road by two methods. This is the more direct way with a sign right off of the main airport road that says Pumpkin Hill Road. And there's a more indirect way along this path. The road is quite muddy during rainy season, although the Zona Libre Zolatur organization has put away money to pave this road, which will really open up this entire area. Pumpkin Hill was a volcano in its former life and now acts as the first sign of Utila when approaching the island by boat, being the highest point of Utila at about 74 meters or 240 feet more or less. The views from the top of Pumpkin Hill are absolutely incredible, and you can see all the way across to the west end of the island over to the Keys. The sandy shoreline on the north side is home to one of the few remaining nesting turtle sites in the Caribbean. Hawksbill, green, and loggerhead turtles are endangered species that need support from us to survive. When it takes over 20 years before a turtle can reproduce, you can understand why it's so important to help make every single turtle that hatches survive. Did you know that some species of turtles can live up to 100 years? I think the oldest one is 400 years old. Pumpkin Hill is one of my favorite places. It's indescribable. Every time I go there, I am amazed by the combination of the sound of the waves, the feel of the breeze, the absolutely stunning scenery. It's an area that tantalizes all of your senses. You have to experience it for yourself to understand what I mean. As we leave the beautiful area of Pumpkin Hill, we've concluded the road accessible areas of Utila. I'm going to point out a few more landmarks and areas. For example, this is Swanix, which encompasses the airport and the Cliff Club. Moving along the airport road, we come to an area called Rocky Hill, which is a little bit elevated compared to the surrounding areas. If you keep following this road, you come to another area called Hardy's or Bamboo, where our medical clinic, or the Centro de Salud, is located. It's a nice little residential community that's growing. Then we come to the police station and the baseball diamond, and finally the football field, or soccer field as North Americans call it. And here we are at Jericho, or Countryside, which holds Stewart Hill. Now, the Stewart Hill area is actually the second highest point of Utila. As you follow along this road, you'll notice the elevation, and as you get closer to Stewart Hill, you can see as you go up, it reaches about 37 or 38 meters at its highest point. That's according to Google, of course. Zooming out, we have another area called Western Path, which you get to by going back to the shore, going along to Sandy Bay, and heading west. There's another highly populated area called Campanado, and that's pretty much it for most of the pueblos that are road accessible. So on a last note for part 1, people also ask me about water and power services. Let's move this off to the side a little bit and talk about which areas are served by the Utila Power Company. The entire town has power, including this orange strip here, as well as this blue area, but not including the Cliff Club. There is power in Tradewinds, and the Utila Power Company has plans to extend the grid out to Big Bite, requiring 15 posts, and a huge project to Pumpkin Hill, requiring 45 posts. Those projects are imminent. Municipal water services supply the town of Utila, as well as this orange strip here going towards the airport, ending about here. The Tradewinds area recently began receiving a private water supply. Prior to that, they did rainwater catchment only. Utila's water supply is a precious resource, as our annual rainfall is what replenishes the island's aquifers. One of the quaint things about living here is that our water is stored up at Stewart Hill in the reservoir and pumped down to Blue Bayou and down towards the Keys only on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. On Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, the water is supplied to the other area towards the point. On the off days, you need to ensure that you have sufficient storage in your water tanks or cisterns to get you through the day. All areas where water is not distributed have rainwater catchment systems or dig wells. Even those people that are provided town water normally have a complementary rainwater catchment system, which is important to draw less on the town's resources, especially when you live on an island. So that's it for Utila Geography 101. Congratulations! If you have any questions, please email me or visit my website. Looking forward to showing you Utila and what island life is all about. Stay tuned for part 2. Thanks for watching.